Recording has begun. Good evening. This is the December 17, 2024 regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Complaint Committee of the City and County of San Francisco. The time is 5:30 p.m. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force and its committees convene in hybrid meetings that allow for either in-person attendance or remote participation. Public comment will be taken on each item of the agenda. Meeting decorum. Any member of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force may call for decorum due to the disorderly conduct of meeting participants. Persons who engage in threatening and/or menacing behavior may be asked to leave. Chair Schmidt, that completes my announcements.
Okay, we have a pretty tight, quick evening. It appears. Two cases. Let's go ahead and start with number one.
Item 1, call to order, roll call, and agenda changes.
I don't think we need to do anything that's an agenda change.
May I take roll call?
Yes.
Taking the roll. Chair Schmidt.
Present.
Chair Schmidt, present. Member Sugarman.
Present.
Member Sugarman, present. Member Stein, absent. 2 present, we have a quorum.
Any agenda changes?
Yes, we received word in advance that item 7 has been withdrawn.
Okay.
The communication is in your hands and available in the room.
All right. So then we'll just, I don't think we even need to call it then.
Should we discuss now what to do with item 6 should the petitioner not be present?
If you have a thought on that, I'm fine with talking about it right now, although we will also have a chance when we get to it.
Yeah.
That won't be very long.
Okay. Well, we can wait and talk about it then. It's okay.
Okay. Okay, so I think we can go ahead with number 2.
Item 2, approval of the October 15, 2024 Complaint Committee meeting minutes.
Okay, we have Member Sugarman. Any minutes changes?
No.
Okay, none from me. So I'll move to approve.
And I'll second that.
Moved by Chair Schmidt, seconded by Member Sugarman, to approve the October 15, 2024 minutes. Public comment?
Yeah, on that motion, yes.
On the motion for item 2, if you wish to make public comment and you're in the room, please approach the podium. Members of the online community, if you'd like to make public comment, please raise your hand in the app or press *3. We'll give you a moment. We have no one approaching the podium and no callers in the queue.
All right, so we're ready for the vote on that one. The vote on item 2, Chair Schmidt. Aye.
Chair Schmidt, aye. Member Sugarman.
Aye.
Member Sugarman, aye. Member Stein, absent. 2 ayes, motion passes.
We can go to 3.
Item 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Again, if you're in the room and want to approach the podium to make public comment on item 3, please do so now. Members of the online community, please raise your hand using the app or press *3. We have no one in the room approaching the podium, no hands raised.
Okay, number 4, please.
Item number 4, hearing on complaint committee administration. Discuss the role in advancing the expansion of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force's role per Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance, Section 67.30, authorizations.
Okay, I want to just have this on our calendar for a while. I don't have anything on it today, and I don't feel that we can get much done on it without Member Stein here. We could, but I think it's with the 3 of us, it's a good group, and we do probably all have some of the same ideas, some different ideas. But I thought that this is something that would encompass a lot of the thoughts that we've had. But I think that if we can keep it on, just leave it on until the next hearing and probably hearings after that, we may come up with some ideas that we also may know how to put forward. That's all.
Could you tell me more about 6730 authorizations?
Well, 6730 is the part of 6730 that I was referring to when I drafted this description, is the 7 or 8 powers that the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force was given. The different areas of action, authority, etc. Only one is to hear complaints, things like education, the various areas, which I think we do have things going on in some of these areas, but I just want to make sure. And I was hoping that if we could have our task force be on time, like we're pretty close to right now, which was a major change, that would enable us to not be obsessed with complaints and to do things that are more sort of policy-ish, proactive, that I think that in my opinion, people have sort of lost track of. Does that make sense?
Yes, I feel like we had a related discussion not long ago about this. I thought just about like where our targets would be for what we're looking to expand upon within the complaint committee. What are our goals for this?
Yes,
You know,
you're absolutely right. We did start talking about this before, and so this is just a continuation of that. I didn't even change the language, so when we pick it up again, I think it'll just be a continuation. So I don't know if we need any public comment on that because we don't have any kind of pending motion. I think that we're ready to move to line 5.
Confirming that we're not taking public comment on item 4.
No public comment on 4.
Okay, one moment, please. Item number 5, file number 23099, complaint filed by Mark LaCroix against the San Francisco Fire Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.5 by failing to conduct meetings of any policy body open and public. 67.10, conducting a closed session hearing on a non-permitted topic. and 67.11 by failing to properly notice a closed session hearing. On February 20th, 2024, the Complaint Committee moved by Chair Schmidt, seconded by Member Stein, to find that the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force has jurisdiction and to forward the matter to the full task force. The committee requested that the matter be heard on the same day as file number 23095, as the parties are the same and the issues are similar but not the same. On August 7, 2024, the task force moved to find a violation of Administrative Code Section 67.10 sub B regarding the January 12, 2022 Fire Commission meeting as to item 5C. The task force further found that in light of the previous motion, Ms. LaHood asked the Fire Commission to release the portion of the January 12, 2022 closed session pertaining to item 5C and requested a response from the Commission. On 12/4/2024, the task force, moved by Member Wolf and seconded by Member LaHood, referred/returned the matter to the Complaint Committee for consideration of a violation of Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.21.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify that the language of what was just read seems to still refer to some public meetings issues, but what we're doing here today is limited to the document question under 6721. And we did see this just in the last task force meeting. I think we will conduct this as if it were like any of the hearings, meetings, discussions that we have in this committee on the document issue. So this being one of two complaints that we should be hearing today, I'll explain the rules, and that is we hear from each party for up to 3 minutes. So we'll have the petitioner first, then respondent tell us about the case, with in mind that the members have already read the materials. Then the next stage is that the members may have questions to ask the parties. After the question and answer, the members will discuss what the resolution of the matter might be as of today. This committee cannot make any final decisions. What we are looking for is whether we want to put this before the full task force for a hearing on the matter. We are looking at questions of jurisdiction, questions of whether this involves public documents, public meetings. We may make recommendations, and we also, on certain cases, we may refer to the full task force on its separate consent calendar. So when our administrator is ready, I think we may begin. And let's see if we can hear from the petitioner first.
Mr. Petrellis, if you are in the online community, would you raise your hand, please?
No. LaCroix, right?
Yeah.
LaCroix.
I'm sorry, Mr. LaCroix. Sorry, Mr. LaCroix, moving you to panelist.
It's all right.
Mr. LaCroix and Ms. Conifrey are both present as panelists.
All right.
3 minutes for Mr. LaCroix.
Yes.
Mr. LaCroix, are you ready?
I am. Good evening.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes begins now.
Okay, thank you. I didn't have anything specific really prepared. I know this matter went to you first and then the full task force. So we found a 6710B violation of holding a meeting on a non-permitted topic. So that was nice. What I was looking for was an order of determination to make the record public, and I did not know I needed to complain of 6721 to get that order of determination. So that's why we're back here. So 6721 has some remedy to order the meeting, the record of the meeting public. So I'm just asking that we spread some sunshine here on this fire commission and release this record. They admitted to talking about separations before any evidence ever took place at this meeting, which is against the good government guide for conduct of commissioners. So I'm not sure why they needed to get together and talk about us beforehand, but it is a due process violation, and it's pretty important to me, very important to me, to find out, what why my due process was violated, basically. So just ask that we follow the Sunshine Ordinance. 67.8.1 says when all reasoning, I'm going to summarize, I don't have it in front of me, all reasoning for closing a session is removed, then that session should be public, basically. So that's what I'm asking to look at and discuss, 678.1, and then the remedies provided in 6721. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, when Ms. Peterson's ready, let's go to the respondent.
Ms. Conifrey, are you ready? Ms. Conifrey, you are still muted. I'll give you a moment and then I'll unmute you.
Yes, I've been waiting to be unmuted. First of all, good evening, and I object to this hearing as this matter has already been adjudicated with a violation found. On that note, back in November, I believe, of 2021, Chief of Department Janine Nicholson submitted about 24 letters to the Fire Commission recommending non-disciplinary separation for members that were not following the health order and getting vaccinated. That was very unprecedented. This has never happened, I don't believe, in the Fire Commission's history, where this amount of charging letters have come at one time, knowing that the commission needed to get these all scheduled. They consulted with the city attorney's office to figure out the best way to go about getting these calendared. And they were advised that they could go into a closed session to discuss their personal schedules. And also, in the meantime, I believe out of the 23, 24 letters that came in, a couple of the members actually got vaccinated. So those names were coming off the list. There were also a couple that were either on workers' comp or disability that were protected at the moment from being heard, as well as a couple of members who retired early. So the commission went into this closed session with the understanding that they could have a confidential conversation amongst them with their schedules and calendars and figure out how to get 20 plus hearings scheduled in the quickest amount of time. Now, I don't know why we're going back with a new violation. This is regarding an audio tape, which falls under, I would imagine, documents, but we've already been found
30
in
seconds.
violation. I'm sorry?
30 seconds.
Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we may have questions for the parties. Member Sugarman, anything?
Yes, to the petitioner. I have been following this case. Obviously, I've been at the previous meetings about it, except for the most recent one on December 4th. I suppose I just want to understand, because what I remember is sort of what was reiterated, that this was really about a scheduling issue, and from what I recall, having to do with your knowledge of this matter of your separation being scheduled, at least just in terms of our ability to find a violation for that specifically, not for the separation, the meeting about the separation, but about the scheduling of it. And my question to you is, and I know that you went over this before, I kind of just want you to reiterate, what was your knowledge of their scheduling your separation before this moment?
So I really didn't pay attention to the agenda at that time because, it was a pretty innocuous looking agenda item as being that it was supposed to be status and calendaring. So in the Fire Commission's initial response letter to you guys, they admitted that they went into closed session and started discussing specific individuals' separation matters. So that is what's a violation of the Good Government Guide, and it's a violation of due process for the separation process. So they didn't initially reply that they were actually doing anything about status and calendaring. That kind of just recently came out. So that admission that they were talking about our separations and talking about individuals' separation details, that's the meat of this, I believe. That's what's important, that they're not supposed to be doing that. and the status and calendaring didn't qualify under 6710B, as the full commission found, or the full task force found there, as a permitted topic. So that should never have happened. That should have been public. And if it's just looking at calendars and figuring out who's available when and all that, there's no reason that can't happen in public. It happens all the time with boards and commissions. So why they needed to do it behind closed doors, you already found that they weren't supposed to. So that's where I bring you back to 67.8.1, is they had no business doing what they were doing. And so there's no reason to have that secret meeting.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
I mean, it did in a roundabout way. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Chair Schmidt here for petitioner Mr. LaCroix. Let me just get a clarification. I believe that what we're looking at here today is there's already been a decision by this task force that the session should not have been closed. And now we're talking about the document, which is the transcript of that closed session, and whether
There is no transcript.
There's no transcript of that closed session.
No, there is no transcript.
Okay.
It's an audio.
Audio taped. Okay, thank you. The audio tape then, my mistake. Mr. LaCroix, is that what we're talking about here, is the production of that audio tape?
Yes, indeed. And that was the advice given by Chair Yankee, was to add the 6721 to my complaint, and that's why it's coming back to you.
Okay.
Is
Okay.
that 6721 has the remedy of the order of determination in it. And this is my first time through here, so I do apologize that I wasn't aware that you had to complain of 621 to take advantage of the remedy that's provided there. So that's why we're doing this loop around here.
Well, it's
Re-adjudicating.
completely. And I understand your point, respondent, that this is unusual, and we also don't wish to have duplicative things that seem duplicative. I think this is somewhat of an unusual case, even for us, in that, yes, we're looking at a lot of the same facts as already were looked at when we looked at the issue of the meeting itself. And so part of what we're doing here is deciding whether that's problematic in itself, whether we should deny this request because it's what you're calling a re-adjudication. And I think that's a fair challenge. But yes, that's something that we may or may not consider to be determinative here. Okay, I don't think I have any other questions for the parties.
I don't either.
Okay.
I have thoughts for deliberation, though.
All right, let's move on to the members of the committee deliberating on what we want to do. And again, we don't make any final decisions here. We basically try to figure out if this is appropriate for the task force to hear.
So again, I wasn't here for December 4th. From what I can interpret, it doesn't sound like a re-adjudication. It sounds like the fire commission was told they were in violation, and then they still didn't produce the record. And we do come about this, like, it feels as though it comes up like adherence or cooperation with sunshine orders. That does come up. And I think without being at that meeting, it still sounds as though that's why this was brought back to us, was because maybe 6721 was potentially another remedy to say, well, we found you in violation. You didn't produce the record. We're going to find you in violation for something else that also qualifies to, again, produce the record. I think that seems, without any other reason provided so far as to why the session was closed, that seems reasonable to me.
Yes, and I don't know if maybe the task force itself should have seen this earlier and should have looked at it as both a 67.8 case and a 67.21 case. As I recall, we were really focused on the provisions at in the meetings section, and we weren't really. And this could be that we weren't really focused because that wasn't really the way it was presented to us. Although I believe that maybe we could have seen it earlier, and if we didn't see it, that's maybe a reason why we want to remedy that now. And looking at this and knowing that, yeah, the matters come up, we've already ruled on the substance here, and it's not about whether the meeting shouldn't have been closed, which was what we decided earlier, but it's, well, if it was closed and there's some record of what happened, can that be requested and obtained? And so I think that I told Mr. LaCroix at the last time we met, and you know, I agree with the parties that this is way too many hearings. And yet somehow we just end up having this sort of bouncing back and forth sometimes. But this is also, you know, it's an important case, I think. I'm not necessarily saying that I have some personal interest in the politics of the case, but it's for our purposes on the when you close a meeting, when you don't close a meeting, that in itself it's an important question. I told Mr. LaCroix I was concerned about, was there a proper request? Was that request denied? A request for the document itself, or again, the audio tape, which is technically it's a record but not a document, and I think it, you know, it does fall within the definition of records that can be requested. That request was denied, and I know that the Fire Commission has, you know, they're standing their ground on the substance of this. And then the third question that I wanted to just clarify is, did a request get, or I'm sorry, did the request and the denial get conveyed to us as a task force as being improper? Was that part of a complaint process? And I think that if it wasn't done that way earlier, the fact that this has been brought up now satisfies that for me. Mm-hmm. And so I'll just say I'm pretty convinced that we should be sending this to see if the task force would find a violation. To me, it's at minimum, we send it for the task force to look at. I think we could also make a recommendation because we have already ruled on we can't really, I don't have any interest in second guessing what we decided before, but I think the substance has already been determined. And then the third option is whether we put it on our consent calendar before the task force. Member Sugarman, what are your thoughts?
I don't know about on the consent calendar, but I want to add for the parties that this seems like it's kind of an ideology sort of based argument. So you have this closed meeting that was about a scheduling matter that did happen to do with separation. To me, from what I've heard today and kind of just what I interpret, there isn't necessarily, this is my opinion, but there isn't necessarily a lot of substance in that meeting. But nevertheless, the petitioner wants it, and the fire commission on the opposite end of it is like, well, under our interpretation of our rights, we don't have to release this. Because we do come across a lot of cases where we spend many hours trying to discuss between petitioners and respondents how to work out the situation, how to release the information they're looking for. And it doesn't seem as though, I'm not really sure, I would like that to see a resolution, you know, more so than to have this kind of this principled moment where they're not getting what they want and there's not necessarily something to get. It's so for me, having said all of that, the truth is the committee and the full board have, as the respondent noted, found in violation for the commission, and the commission still hasn't produced the record. And so to me, that just means that we advance it. And I don't know about the consent because it still is it's a new section violation, right? So we could say that it is. I'm on the fence. I would take your lead if you want.
How about we make a recommendation to find a violation?
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Okay, yeah,
okay.
That's okay.
So I'll make the motion. The committees, we're going to move to have this matter sent to the full task force to consider with recommendation to find a violation of section 67.21 and then order production of the audio tape.
The only part I would amend, because you mentioned at the outset, was that you want to make sure it refers to this specific section and this specific, because I did think that when I saw it, that it referred to like a total record when it really was about this one piece of it. So it was section 5C, right? It had to do with the closed session.
You think we should have that as part of our motion? That's fine.
I think it's just part of the paper trail.
So let me just insert then where I said audio tape, say audio tape of the closed session that the task force already has considered.
Yeah, that's good.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
And no mention of 5C.
I think that's probably sufficient.
Moved by Chair Schmidt, seconded by
Member Sugarman, I second.
Member Sugarman to refer the matter to the full task force with the recommendation to find a violation of 67.21 and order production of the audio tape of the closed session that the task force has considered.
Okay. Let's have public comment.
Anyone in the room wishing to make public comment, please approach the podium. Members of the online community, you may raise your hand in the app or press *3. I'll give you just a moment. We currently have 2 hands raised.
All right. Let's one at a time.
3 minutes.
Yes, up to 3 minutes public comment on that.
Hello, caller. You've been unmuted. Are you ready to begin?
Yes, is that for me?
Yes.
Madam?
Yes, it is. Are you ready for your 3 minutes to begin?
Yes, please.
Your time begins.
Good evening, thank you. Good evening, gentlepersons. I just would like to say I commend you for finding that there was a violation and moving this forward. Our concern when we operate in governance is to be able to be there for the people that we serve and follow the rules and regulations as laid forth. The argument by the respondent that they were given information from the attorneys that this was to be closed and not to be covered, they were given, if it was given bad information per the rules and regulations of the city, and the good governance and oversight by the task force, it's important to be there. If they're talking about a scheduling issue and there may be private issues involved with the scheduling, that is fine, but we will not know if that was the only thing discussed unless the record has been made available. And I think that's part of the complaint. It sounds like there was a discussion not just about scheduling, but potentially about dispositions of the cases with the commissioners. And I think that's really where we need to get to the bottom of. And that can only be provided if they've been found in violation to produce the records so that we can move forward and continue to operate San Francisco in a clear and open manner that best serves the citizens that we protect and the governing and how we govern ourselves so that we're open and truthful. So thank you for that, and that is all of my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller. We have a second caller. Hello, caller. You've been unmuted. Are you ready for your 3 minutes to begin?
Yes, I am.
Your 3 minutes begins now.
Hi, this is Michael Petrellis calling in, and I just wanted to make sure I could make public comment, and I want to support the petitioner in this matter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, caller, confirming that you just spoke.
I was the first person to speak, I believe. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm lowering your hand.
Thank you.
There are any other callers in the queue? Please raise your hand at this time. Press *3 or use the app. We have no one approaching the podium, no other callers in the queue.
All right, we're ready for our vote.
On item 5, file 23099, Chair Schmidt.
Aye.
Chair Schmidt, aye. Member Sugarman.
Hi.
Member Sugarman, aye. Member Stein, absent. 2 ayes, motion passes.
So when you're ready, let's go on to number 6.
Thank you. Item number 6, file number 24056. Complaint filed by Michael Petrellis against Andrea Iao, Castro Community Benefit District, for allegedly violating Administrative Code Sunshine Ordinance Section 67.21 by failing to respond to a records request in a timely and/or complete manner, and 12L4C2 by failing to allow for at least 30 minutes of public comment at each public meeting. This hearing is for a determination regarding jurisdiction required prior to scheduling a Sunshine Ordinance Task Force hearing on the complaint pursuant to Administrative Code 67.21 or 12L4C2, or referring the complaint to the city agency who administers the contract for the Castro Community Benefit District pursuant to Administrative Code 12L Nonprofit Public Access Ordinance.
Okay. I will ask if we have anyone here on the side of the respondent. That's Andrea Aiello and or the Castro Community Benefit District.
We have Executive Director Andrea Iao in the audience.
Okay, very good. All right. So we will follow the same process. And as our notes indicate, there are sort of preliminary questions, and they're important preliminary questions as to what our role is as a task force on this matter. I will, we can hear first for up to 3 minutes from Mr. Petrellis, and then we'll give the respondent a chance to take the podium and present to us for up to 3 minutes.
All right, 1 moment, please. Hello, caller, confirming that you are Mr. Petrellis.
Yes, this is Michael.
I am moving you to panelist. 1 moment, please. The 3 minutes, Chair Schmidt.
Yes.
Mr. Petrellis, are you ready for your 3 minutes to begin?
No, I need to get yes, I now have my stopwatch ready.
All right, your 3 minutes begins now.
Hello, this is Michael Petrellis. I want to point out that on the SF.gov website, there is a web page devoted just to the community benefit districts. The Castro CBD is the first such CBD listed on this website because it's listed alphabetically. My point is that it is a city department or a city agency, and as such, all of the sunshine laws apply to this organization. It is definitely an arm of the mayor's office. The second thing I want to mention is that the latest IRS 990, which is posted at the Castro CBD website, shows on page 9, part 8, the statement of revenue, okay? Letter G shows that for the last fiscal year, the Castro CBD took in $620,000. Now, that's more than the $250,000 minimum that kicks in when the city gives a private organization money and then they have to meet the nonprofit law. So the Castro CBD is totally funded or primarily funded by the mayor's office. It is an arm of the mayor's office, and I say that those are reasons why all of the sunshine law and provisions must apply. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, the respondent may respond up to 3 minutes, knowing that we've already had our opportunity to look at the file, the written file.
Ready? Yes. Hi, Andrea Aiello, and I'm the Executive Director for the Castro Community Benefit District. The Castro Community Benefit District is known as, we are authorized under state legislation, we are a property and business improvement district. We are a standalone separate 501c3. That's why our 990 is on our website. We have a management agreement with the city and county of San Francisco that establishes us as in a contractual relationship with the city. Community benefit districts or property and business improvement districts are funded through a special assessment fee on every parcel that falls in the footprint, in our footprint. So the Castro is, our footprint goes from Octavia, it doesn't matter, our footprint is fairly large. We have a little over 600 parcels, and we are primarily funded through the special assessment fee. The assessment fee is placed on the property tax bill for every property owner. Then the assessors, this is why we have the management agreement with the city. The assessor's office twice a year turns over our portion of the assessment fees that are raised. So we're waiting for our assessment fee that people pay their property taxes by December 10th. We will get our first assessment fee pot from the city by January 10th. Hopefully we're going to get it, in a week or two. Then we get our second pot of assessment fees in May. We also do get some late payments because people don't pay their property taxes on time. We are primarily funded through the assessment fee. We do have 2 recurring grants with the city and county of San Francisco through the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. One is to fund community ambassadors that are unarmed ambassadors that are like an extra set of eyes and ears in the community, observe and report, homeless outreach, that sort of thing. And then we also have a small grant that funds 40 hours a week of a cleaning ambassador to take care of some of the Jane Warner Plaza, which is not a parcel. You see, so we can't place an assessment fee on the Jane Warner Plaza, so we need some other way, because we're not allowed by state law to provide services where we're not getting paid by the property owner. So this is the way the city lets us or asks us to provide services to Jane Warner Plaza, because they give us a grant to only 5 days a week, but they give us a grant to clean that space.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you could just remain at the microphone, because we may have a few questions right now. But thank you. Very good information that helps. Absolutely, from both parties. Okay, this now is time for questions. Member Sugarman, do you have any questions at the moment?
The only one that I'm looking at is, I think that you answered it, but I just want to make sure I confirm. And I had looked through, your fiscal year report, and something that I believe that Mr. Petralis is citing, which is the nonprofit public access ordinance. And what he mentioned in his discussion was that this ordinance applies to nonprofits that receive at least $250,000 per year in funding that's provided by or through the city. So that was the part that kind of like I belatedly got to, and it sounded as though that's you're saying that that is true.
Yes, we comply with 12L.
Okay. That's so then if you comply with 12L, the part that he cites that I'm trying to understand is he says there must be at least 30 minutes of designated public comment. And so I saw that in the documents that believe me, it doesn't seem like I've never seen a public meeting where someone has spoken by themselves for 30 minutes. That part doesn't add up to me personally, but it does say here in 12L that it says there must be at least 30 minutes of designated public comment for people who fall under 12L.
Right. We provide up to 6 minutes of general public comment before the meeting. And then we provide 2 minutes per person for public comment on every agenda item and before every vote. So when you add all that up together, there's 30 minutes or more of public comment.
So what in the meeting in question, was there something around
I
that?
think he misunderstood. I think he didn't read the whole agenda or something. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the
It's on our website. You can take a look and see.
okay to see the
Sure.
actual
Yeah.
the meeting, because that was the piece that when I read that I sort of imagined that he may have been the only public commenter or something, like even if like
Well, I can't control how many people show up for public comment and how many people choose to speak. It's that we allot the time for public comment.
okay. I can try and find the meeting when
PascoCBD.org, and on the homepage, you just click on, it says agendas and minutes, and the agendas are listed right there.
I will look for that.
Yeah.
But I also want just to clarify for your recollection that I understand that we have very similar meeting formats, and we often have people who will expel, like they will use those 2 minutes in each item if they're able to.
Yeah.
And to your recollection, I mean, can you tell me about what happened here in terms of his public comment and why he is claiming that he wasn't able to give as much as he wanted? Did he try and use each item to comment, or were there many commenters?
He commented at our last meeting, he commented on most, not every single agenda item, but he had the opportunity to. For instance, it was our annual meeting, and so we have on the agenda for members of the public to suggest to the board possible board members. That's an item on the agenda that we're required to do. And we asked if there was any comments, and nobody commented. So, and
Okay.
yeah.
Would you like to ask some more questions?
Yeah, a couple questions. mainly, I'm just trying to get as much knowledge about the relationship here between the city and the nonprofit. Okay, you said there's a management agreement.
Yes,
Who do you?
that was attached to the document, the attachment that was sent.
Okay. Do you consider that the district makes the agreement with the mayor's office specifically?
Well, I'll tell you what happens. When community benefit districts are established, in order to establish a community benefit district, you have to have approval of the property owners. So we were established in 2005 for 15 years. In 2020, we went back out for what's called a renewal. And it's a very formal process through the Department of Elections. And so I think that's why people get confused that they think we're part of the city, because the property owners get this ballot in the mail from the Department of Elections that's very formal. I mean, it's a real ballot. And so there's a whole process of us doing outreach to the property owners. We develop a management plan that's on our website, and we mail out the management plan to every property owner with a ballot and say, this is what you're getting, and this is how much your assessment fee is going to be in year one. This is how much the board might be able to increase the assessment fee from year to year. So all that information is sent to every property owner, and then we follow up. And it was during the pandemic. I want to let you know this was in May of 2020. But so we then they do an initial I think I'm interested, and so we send that off to that tally off to OEWD, and then OEWD works with the Department of Elections, and the Department of Elections sends mail-in ballots out to every property owner, and the property owner mails their ballot back to the Department of Elections. We never see it. So, and then at the board meeting, the Board of Supervisors meeting, they actually open up every ballot right there and then. And you have to pass with over 50, I think it's a 30% weighted, no, the 30% is the first round. And the second round, I guess, is 51% weighted assessment fee. So it's because it's based on how much the property owner pays. So it's a weighted assessment. It's a weighted vote, rather. Sorry, it's a weighted vote. So you have to pass with 51% of a weighted vote. They count that all up at the Board of Supervisors meeting. And if you pass, there's, conversation. This was, I wasn't there because it was during the pandemic. So they, of course, then the Board of Supervisors has the ability to vote yes or vote no. Board of Supervisors in our case voted yes. And then it goes off to the mayor's office to sign, it's like signing a contract through the city. So yeah, that's what happens. The different parties sign, and then you have a signed, fully executed contract.
Okay, and that just sort of like it may sound picayune, but just the signatory to the contract from the city, what department are they with? Do you know? Is it the mayor's office? Is there some other? One of the reasons I ask this is there is a potential process whereby Mr. Petrellis could.
Actually, I see the signatories. It was at the time Joaquin Torres, so who was the director of the Office of Economic and Workforce Development.
Okay.
Manu Pradhan, who is the deputy city attorney, and then myself. Those are the signatories.
Okay, so the OEWD signs, and that's the management agreement.
Yes.
Okay. The two small grants, what city agencies?
OEWD.
They're OEWD. Okay. Mr. Petrellis, I have a question. You said that the
Yes.
district is an arm of the mayor's office, and I wonder if you can tell us what the basis is for using that phrase.
Because much of the funding for the CBD comes through the Office of Economic and Workforce Development, which is a part of the mayor's office. That's why I view them in part as an arm of the city, of the mayor's office, because there is, $600,000 or so that goes to the CBD. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You can't. What I'm saying is, that makes it a public government entity. It is not a private organization.
And that's why another phrase I just put in my notes that you called this a city agency. It sounds like that's
how I would personally describe it. Yes, because there is a good $600,000 they're receiving.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
Well, also, I would just like to add that I view all of the CBDs as small city agencies. They are carrying out a city-funded agenda.
Now, there is a provision that you cited to us in 12L that talks about the Sunshine Task Force potentially providing an advisory opinion, but there's sort of a condition, which is that the complainant have already submitted a request to they call it the contracting agency, where if you're making a sunshine complaint, and in this situation, you would be complaining about either the document. Well, actually, let's see, you're making a sunshine complaint about the Castro CBD, and you would need to take it somewhere, which could be the mayor's office, could be the OEWD and the inside the mayor's office. But it looks like you'd need to do that before you asked us to give an advisory opinion. Did you do such a thing?
I first have to ask for clarification. You are talking about a sunshine request I made to the CBD for documents that I was not provided.
Yes.
Is that what this is, the context?
Yes. Yeah, because I believe that.
Okay, so now that you've clarified, yes, I have submitted sunshine requests to the Office of Economic and Workforce Development for items such as the emails and texts of Andrea Aiello. And because she does not provide her emails and texts to that office, my request to the Office of Economic Workforce Development had no documents to give me. So that's why I filed a request with Andrea, who's created this rule out of thin air, as far as I know, that she will accept only one request a month and only one word searches. And so I did go to the funder, the Office of Economic Development, because the documents weren't provided by Andrea to them, they had nothing to give me. I go to Andrea and say, where are your emails and texts? And she says, well, you've already met your one request limit per month.
Okay, so it's in that I'm trying to see if I'm seeing that you did tell someone at the OEWD that what you requested from the district, they denied you those records, those documents, and you thought that that denial was improper, and you wanted OEWD to take action of some kind. Is that what you're saying?
I'm confused. This matter is about jurisdiction, right?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the specifics. So it seems like we've gone off into specifics. What I'm saying is required of the CBD is that they have to, and they have done it in the past, comply with public records requests. I made a request, regardless of what it was for. I made the request. Andrea denied it. I made a similar request for the documents to the Office of Economic Development, and it was denied. I do not believe this is a matter of I have to go to OED, get rejected by them, and go to Andrea, or to do the reverse. Go to Andrea, get rejected by her, and then go to OED. The bottom line is Andrea should not be able to pick and choose which public records request she will provide and comply with.
Okay.
Can I
Thank
say
you.
something?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to agree with Mr. Petrellis that I thought this was a jurisdictional hearing. That this was about whether the Sunshine Task Force has jurisdiction over the Community Benefit District, and and that decision then applies to all the business and community, all the CBDs and business improvement districts and tourism improvement districts throughout the city.
I think that's
Yes,
accepted.
yes.
I think that that's understood.
And so then if you can turn to, I don't know if you have the document that was sent to you, but Article 12 in our management agreement, Section 12.2, Sunshine Ordinance, corporation acknowledges and agrees that this agreement is subject to the Section 67.24E of the San Francisco Administrative Code. All information provided by corporation that is covered by such Section 67.24E and not exempt from disclosure pursuant to applicable law will be made available to the public upon request. The requirements of this section are in addition to corporations' obligation to comply with the California Public Records Act. And 67.2. I don't have it in front of me, but 67.24E is pretty specific and applies to contracts, bids, and RFPs, and basically says that the corporation, the Community Benefit District, acknowledges that the city or the department has the responsibility to make public the contracts that they have with us, the RFP process, the bidding process, that kind of thing. And so as far as I read this, and as far as our city attorney, as far as the CBD's attorney reads this, the only piece of sunshine that the Community Benefit District is required to comply with is 67.24E.
Do you are you saying that that your organization consents to jurisdiction
For 67.24E,
24E
just
and only that provision?
because that's the only thing that's written in our management agreement with the city.
Okay, so you're saying that it's the position of the district that because of that contractual provision, this task force obtains jurisdiction on that one provision, where otherwise, if it wasn't in the contract, we would not have that jurisdiction.
That's correct.
I'm not an attorney. I know that OEWD in previous cases has consulted with their city attorney about this question, and Mandu, I think that was his last name. I forget who. Oh, I have it with me. It was in 2018, and Manu Pradhan, his opinion was that in consultation with OEWD, because OEWD asked them, he says, the CBD should tell the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force that it is not subject to the Sunshine Ordinance because it is an independent entity. It is not a part of the city and is not created at the city's behest or managed by the city. And I assume that none of its board members are city employees. Further, state law dictates that an owners association is a private entity and may not be considered a public entity for any purpose, nor may its board members or staff be considered to be public officials for any purpose. SH 36614.5, the CBD's only connection to the city is that it is in contract with the city. Is every vendor who provides services to the city subject to the Sunshine Ordinance too? That's his question. Then unfortunately, it didn't get printed out. The whole thing didn't get printed out very well, but I'm not 100%. He ends, of course, this does not guarantee that the CBD will be fine, in quotes, with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. This issue came up in 2010 with the North of Market Tenderloin CBD, and the Sunshine Task Force took the position, in parentheses, wrongly, in my view, that the CBD had violated certain provisions of the Sunshine Ordinance. The Sunshine Ordinance Task Force also took the position that it could find violations of the Brown Act, which I think our office would disagree with. Here is a copy of the Sunshine Ordinance decision from that Tenderloin case. Lisa Pagan was involved at the time, who was working for OEWD at that time. I am not 100% sure, but I think our office may have submitted a letter to the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force in the above case, the Tenderloin case, to explain why we thought the task force lacked jurisdiction. Maybe we could turn out a similar letter for this case, but this was a case that was dismissed, they withdrew. But the task force ignored our letter last time, so maybe it is not worthwhile this time around. I will need to check with my colleagues about whether we would issue a letter here, so let me know if you want me to pursue that. On a very quick skim of the complaint, the allegations, if true, suggest a finding that the CBD agenda was not sufficient under the Brown Act. That was 2018, and Mr. Pradham is communicating with Mr. Corgus, who works for OEWD, about a complaint that we got about, posting the agenda or something that was a mistake, and everything was like resolved.
Can I just one process question, which is that advice was given to OEWD, but not to your entity, correct?
It was given to OEWD. They forwarded it to me.
Okay. But you don't have the city attorney to rely on?
No, we're a nonprofit. City attorney only works for the city employees.
Okay, thank you. Member Sugarman, did you have a question, or was there some?
No questions right now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We might have one or two more questions, but I think at this point we might be able to figure out what we want to do here. Member Sugarman, anything? I've got a couple thoughts on this.
I think the way that it's been posed is kind of too bigger. I mean, from both parties at this point, is too big a picture for a two-person committee to take on, because you're talking about this issue specifically, and then you're also talking about the community benefit districts, like what this could mean for other community benefit districts in the city. That's one thought that I had. Jurisdictionally, I'm not on its face convinced that it's part of the city, but I think that it's complicated. And I do think that that's worth further discussion, but I don't know necessarily if this is the case for that. And that's kind of like my preliminary thought.
Okay. I'm generally with you on that. I think, unfortunately, yeah, there's only two of us today, and I don't think that we'd be lacking the ability to decide it, but we would have to be completely in sync if we decide one way or another. And I don't know if we get there.
I want to add.
It's a jurisdictional question, so we're told that that's one where if we don't find jurisdiction, what do we do? Do we still send it to the task force? That's actually never come up, and it's a strange part of our rules that I don't quite understand. But go ahead.
I can't, as much as I want to, because like there's all this discussion from the respondent about the relationship with the city, which anecdotally feels like a lot. And in that way, it's something that's worth exploring, but there's nothing that was said or that I've seen in the code or the documents that really says, like, if I take away the city if I take away the possibility of this being a city entity, then I can't find a violation, because it does seem as though the public comment issue she addressed. I mean, we can explore that further because that is still subject under 12L. Although I couldn't figure out I do want to clarify. It seemed as though that particular part was withdrawn, but maybe then reintroduced. So I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then if it's not part of the city, and you have to confirm this, if it's then not subject to Sunshine Ordinance Task Force or Sunshine Ordinance, unless maybe under your condition that it goes through OE, like the Office of Economic and Work Development first. Like if all those conditions apply, then it seems to me that they can set the rule that they want to set in terms of how they make public records requests, mm-hmm. and reply to them. So I'm kind of, I'm just really, I agree with you. I didn't know that it was, I'm interested to hear that it's unprecedented, that we haven't had this thing where we push something forward because we're just discussing it. But, for me, it is unresolved whether, like, what this relationship is. Mm-hmm. But other than that, outside of the relationship, in terms of from between the CBD and the city, outside of that, I don't see enough to support like a violation from the two that were brought.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I believe that if it just as one person who is on this task force, and I only have one vote, and so and we can't make any final decisions here, but I believe that the first part of my opinion on this is that the task force does not have jurisdiction over this agency, or I shouldn't say agency, over this nonprofit. The one aspect which I was also trying to look at is that does not preclude the provision under 12L, which allows, it's one of the few areas of law where the Sunshine Task Force is mentioned, but it allows that an advisory opinion be sought from someone who is seeking documents. I don't know if I've ever seen that come into play. But one of the one precondition is that the complainant has to first go to the contracting agency. And I don't know, I know that Mr. Petraeus has asked for the documents from the nonprofit corporation, has asked for the documents from the OEWD. I don't know if we could construe his request to the OEWD as a complaint that he was improperly denied documents from the nonprofit. So if we are not allowed to advance this, if we don't have jurisdiction, I don't know if I could advance it, but I don't think that rule, I don't think that I want to follow that reading of the rule. I think that ultimately, I think this is something that should be discussed and decided by the full task force. We certainly, since we can't make any decisions, and I think that some people might think, since this is an entity that has they have a lot of connections to the city, even though I don't think that we have jurisdiction. Other members of the task force, I think, potentially might think otherwise. And I think just for that reason, I think we should just send it to the task force to decide all the questions that are presented here.
I just wanted to add one thing. The part where the respondent mentioned Administrative Code 6724E. To me, if that, I don't really think that that's, and please correct me, but I don't think that's an issue here. But if it is, and it's under Sunshine, then that would fall under the typical rules of Sunshine requests and the way that they're responded to. And in that way, that particular provision, you wouldn't be able to say, well, you're limited to X, Y, and Z in terms of how this is. That would be my read of that. That's one thing that I want to add. In terms of, sorry, let me just respond to what you said as well about forwarding this. Talk me into it a little bit more. The only reason why I'm like on the fence is because I think that this issue should be considered by the full force. I do think that. I wonder if it should be packaged in a different complaint that comes before us. I'm not sure if this is necessarily the one.
I understand what you mean. Although I don't know if we can necessarily reject this request and say that it can't go any further.
Yeah.
That's my problem. I think that there's a gap in our rules for a situation where we as a committee are maybe not convinced that there's jurisdiction, and or that we may not think that this should go forward to the full task force for other reasons. I don't know if we can necessarily then say, okay, this thing's over.
Well, we can, I will support, I will support your decision. I will. However, just to clarify, like, I think that we could say that we find no violation and put that on the consent calendar, you know, but I think that you're right that we should, I would rather discuss it more. I also just don't want, I want it to be a productive discussion on, on this matter, on a matter that I do think is nebulous still from everything that I've heard, the relationship between this entity and the city and how that applies to Sunshine. I do think that those are relevant things to continue discussing with people that are more than just us.
Okay. Why don't I take a stab at, under our rules, making a motion? I think that the motion will be moved to send the matter for consideration by the full task force with our recommendation of a finding of no jurisdiction over the Castro CBD. And no jurisdiction under 12L for an advisory opinion due to failure to meet precondition. That's a stab at it.
I think that I would probably go for that on just on a jurisdictional question. I don't know about jurisdiction under 12. Don't we have jurisdiction under 12L? It's a public access issue. So to me, it's less that we don't have jurisdiction, it's that I can't find the violation. I mean, not from what was presented.
Well, Mr. Petros did give us an assessment of 12L as to how 12L can invoke the Sunshine or the task force specifically. And we can apparently give an advisory opinion under the language of 12L. And so I construe his request as encompassing that possibility.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that he needed to do one thing that he didn't do yet. He could still do it, which is to present a complaint to the OEWD that he was denied documents. It's only on the document question, not on the 30 minutes of public comment question.
I just don't. I've been 12L has been open this entire time we've had this discussion. For me, I don't see that part where he had to go through the OEWD for that.
Isn't it at 4 or 5 of the?
That's not even on here. It goes to 3.
Mr. Petros, did you have any guidance for us on? I don't even know if that's something that you were intending to bring. Oh, do you see it? Okay.
A 3-stage dispute resolution. Member of the public. Review and recommendation by the contracting city department. Review by the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. And review and recommended by the resolution by the Board of Supervisors. And okay. I just don't. I would say that I support the motion. But it doesn't seem to me like it's a jurisdictional issue for 12L. It seems like we do have that. It's just a matter of, because you did say that. I think we do have jurisdiction. I think it's just that we didn't find that the procedure was properly followed for us to have authority over it.
Yeah.
Sorry for taking a minute to see that part.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I dug in on this because it's got a lot of legal points. Ms. Peterson, when I made my motion, were you able to catch most of that?
I have. Moved by Chair Schmidt, seconded by Member Sugarman. To refer the matter for consideration by the full task force with a recommendation of a finding of no jurisdiction over the Castro Community Benefit District and no jurisdiction under 12L for an advisory opinion due to failure to meet preconditions.
Okay, I'm going to make one word change. At the end, there's the word jurisdiction.
Yeah.
And I want to take that out and substitute no ability to do that. It just, instead of no jurisdiction, no ability. So one word substitution.
So no ability under 12L to provide an advisory opinion due to failure to meet preconditions?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a motion.
And I can second that.
I'm not going to have any opportunity. Can I have a clarification about 12L?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does 12L apply to email? Or is it just financial disclosure?
To try to, I know where you're going there, and I think 12L is pretty limited in terms of what documents it might govern and what
Yes,
we
I agree.
could be looking at. And so I'm not saying that in this case, we'd actually really have a potential 12L case. And I don't even know if Mr. Petrellis
I don't
is
think that we, yeah, the
trying
only,
to do anything under 12L, but he did refer to 12L
About the 30
in his
minutes.
paper.
about the
About
30,
30
about the
minutes.
30 minutes, yes. And the rest of it, what you're describing about documents, it does not seem to be there. So I agree with you that it's specifically that there was a 30-minute, this dispute about the 30 minutes. And even within that dispute, it says in enforcement that you have to first go to the contracting city department, then the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, then the Board of Supervisors.
And I don't know if any document that he requested would come within the scope of that advisory opinion section.
Right.
But I'm sort of just deciding the one thing that I think I can
Yes.
decide here.
The only
today.
other documents that I see that are available under it are the most recent budget, the most recent tax return, and financial audits or performance evaluation completed in the last 2 years by or for the city,
Yeah.
which doesn't seem to be
Yeah.
disputed.
That stuff is always on our
Yeah,
website
yeah.
every year.
Yes, and so the determination we're making on the 12L question is very limited.
Yes.
But I thought that we may just need to do that here today to clarify because of the way that the case was presented to us. Yeah. Okay, I think we have our motion written.
And I second it.
Let's have public comment.
We have no one else in the room to approach the podium. Members of the online community, if you'd like to make public comment on item 6, please raise your hand in the app or press *3. We have no one in the room approaching the podium, no callers in the queue.
Okay, and I
Is
do want
rebuttal allowed at this point?
we don't do rebuttal, but assuming we both vote for the motion, I think it's better to save it for the task force.
Okay.
I do appreciate your position on this, Mr. Petrellis, and it's certainly a valid thing, a valid presentation that you're making to us, and it has a certain sway with me.
And me.
I think, but I think that ultimately I don't, I don't know what you're going to see the task force say about this, but we are moving it forward. I think that's the best thing we can do right
Understood.
now. Yes.
Okay.
But thank you. We'll hear from you again on this, I believe. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So,
yes.
so let's have a vote.
Taking the vote on item 6, Chair Schmidt.
Aye.
Chair Schmidt, aye. Member Sugarman.
Aye.
Member Sugarman, aye. Member Stein, absent. 2 ayes, motion passes.
Okay, and thank you for being here, coming in, and being
Thank you.
able to really respond to our concerns about this, because I know this could affect a lot of other folks. So when you're ready, we can move to the next item. I know Member Sugarman's got to hit the road here.
Item number 7 has been withdrawn prior to
Thank
the
you.
meeting.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Petrus. Item 7's been withdrawn. Okay.
Item 8, announcements. Would you like item 8?
You can read it. That's
Item
fine.
8, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items by members of the complaint committee.
Nothing for me.
Actually, I just have one question about what is our next meeting date?
The next meeting date is an abbreviated meeting on January 21st. The time change is from 4 o'clock to 5:30 to be followed by a full task force meeting beginning at 5:30.
Okay, thank you. I have some things coming up that, well, it's far enough in advance. I'm fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't overlapping something else. But so thank you.
And we may not even have our complaint committee meeting. I'm not sure if there's going to be anything to meet about. So but we're going to have something that day, because we were going to do a complaint and then full, like, back to back, right?
That's correct,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to back.
Okay. No, nothing further on that. Next item.
Public comment?
Sure.
Online community, we have no one in the room. Online community, if you'd like to comment on item 8, please raise your hand in the app or press *3. We have no hands raised.
Okay. Then next item.
Item 9 is adjournment.
Okay, move to adjourn.
We are adjourned at 7:07 PM. Microphones are
I don't
going off. Recording is off.
Okay.